right, Infernal Blessings. We are back with another video. All right. Before I begin, a couple quick announcements. Uploaded a new live last night. If you didn't get a chance to see that, as the recording of this video, did a live last night on Shen Miyaza and Awakening the Serpent Angel. Check that out on YouTube. Also, if you're interested in a 2024 yearly forecast reading, I'll be doing them for a few more weeks, roughly up until about the first week of February, give or take. If you do email me, please email me at khnum19@gmail.com, but put in the subject title, yearly forecast reading, so I can see those and get those booked and scheduled as quick as I can, due to the fact those are on time frames. If you're interested in any other reading, a Klepothic demonic reading, a Santa Muerte reading, an Egyptian oracle reading, a deity reading, a shadow work reading, or a spiritual consultation, just shoot me an email and I'll send you information on how to book a reading or a consultation. If you want to sign up for classes, as of the recording of this video, some might see it afterwards, which is today, January 6, 2024. We do have a class later today on Patreon, 3 p.m., Shadow Work class number 19. This might be uploaded afterwards. But again, if you want to sign up for classes I do offer, the way to do that is to go to the official Primordial Chaos Patreon page, patreon.com/Baniti, B-A-N-I-T-I. Tier 3 is the tier you want to join. That's going to give you access to the 3 private classes I do every month on Patreon, in addition to the group ritual we do together. And also keep in mind, when you join, it doesn't just give you access from that day you join moving forward. It gives you access to everything in the archives going back 3.5 to 4 years, all of the ongoing series, all the ritual work. You get access to all that when you join. So again, patreon.com/Baniti, B-A-N-I-T-I, tier 3. Take a mental note, October 2024. It'll be here before you know it. The 7th annual Journey of the Black Adept Conference right here in Hollywood, Florida at Cultural Expressions. So mark your calendar. More throughout the years, we get closer to that date in reference to that. Okay, so mark your calendars and get ready for that event late October. All right, also keep in mind, if you would like to also check out the Primordial Chaos podcast, the direct link to the podcast, which is available on Spotify and all major podcast platforms. The link to the podcast is in the description box of the video. The links to the social media pages, Primordial Chaos 9 on Instagram, Primordial Chaos 2 words on Facebook. All of that's in the description box of the video. Sorry, a little distracted there. All the links that you need to reach out and contact me for classes, contact email address, readings, podcast. Again, all of that is in the description box of this video that you are joining right now, or watching right now. All right. You see the title. This comes up a lot. I get a lot of emails about this. I get a lot of questions about this from brand new practitioners, seasoned practitioners in general on the path. Do we work with and use blood on the left-hand path and the occult? Well, let me be clear right out the gate on something, because people twist shit around. They don't hear what they're supposed to hear. They hear what they want to hear. Do we work with it? Yes, it is part of ritual practice. Anybody that tells you that it's not utilized in some shape, form, or fashion is full of shit, doesn't know what they're talking about, and probably have a reason or agenda for so. Now, having said that, is it mandatory? Absolutely not. You do not have to work with blood at all if you make that decision. That's entirely up to you. But I want to clarify a few things. First of all, to the people, especially religious folks, who are judgmental. I see a lot over the years when it comes to this topic. Especially Christians. Oh, that's devil worship. Oh, that's demonic. Oh, that's evil when you're working with blood. And then they have no history of their own God of the Bible. It's a joke. There's more blood, utilization of blood sacrifice, and their God requesting blood. Their God the God of the Bible is a bloodthirsty God. Bottom line. All throughout the Old Testament and the books of the prophet, he just kept requiring blood sacrifice after blood sacrifice, saying shit like the smell of the burning flesh of animals and the smell of the blood is pleasing to the Lord, right? They negate all that shit. Then they'll run the New Testament game on you. Oh, well, with the New Testament, you see, like it's a pass. Well, with the New Testament, the New Covenant, we don't do that no more. But one, you did do it. It's part of your history. Stop acting like it's not there. That's number one. Number two, even on a spiritual level, you guys are still infatuated with blood, because in the so-called New Covenant and in the books of the New Testament, it's about the blood of Christ, the blood this. Jesus sacrificed with the blood of Christ on the cross, the blood, blood, blood in the Catholic Mass, body of Christ, blood of Christ, cannibalism, vampirism, blood work. You're still infatuated with blood on an esoterical spiritual level. So don't act like blood practices are not part of ritual and spiritual practices or rituals or whatever. So let's get that shit out the way. So you can't run from that. It's part of your religion, your dogma, your faith belief system. It's there. It's all enshrouded and coded. So that's to the religious people who want to be judgmental on this topic and make claims like that's demonic and that's evil. Well, your God is the most demonic and evil being then on the planet. Because with all that blood sacrifice that was done in the Torah and the books of the Old Testament and the books of the prophets, shit, that's enough of blood to feed the masses for eons. Okay? So let's be clear on that. All right, let's be crystal clear on that. All right, as far as us, left-hand path occult practitioners, as I said, is it mandatory? Absolutely not. Is it utilized on this path? Yes, and I can only speak to my knowledge, what I know, and how I utilize and practice it. Okay? Now, blood sacrifice, when it's in regards to animals, things of that nature, no, I don't really utilize any of that stuff at all. In more African traditional systems, yes, animal ritual sacrifice is done, but there's a way it's done. There's a process it's done. As I've said before, there's a way animals are ritualistically sacrificed in those type of systems. Do I use that now on the occult and the left-hand path? Absolutely not. Are there some paths that do? Yes. Does it exist? Is it real? Yes. Not in large circles, but let's not act like it's ritual animal sacrifice in many different systems is a practice. And again, religious folks can't be judgmental because it's used all throughout their religions. Okay? And even Islam isn't out of that equation. Let's make that clear. But on a more spiritual, ritualistic aspect of how we use it on the occult and the left-hand path and how I use it and how I teach people that use it and utilize it, we safely draw blood to charge sigils, to charge amulets, talismans, ritual objects, and for ritualistic purposes. Not all the time, in certain practices and rituals. Yes, it is utilized, right? Now, why? What's the science behind that? As I've said many times before, the reason before that is very simple. Blood is the very essence and life substance of your existence. It contains the very essence of your energy. Okay? It is the most powerful ritual offering that you can give when you are doing a ritual for spirits, demons, gods, goddesses. It is one of the greatest or the most powerful offering that you can give. And it enhances the connection with certain gods, goddesses, demons, and spirits. Anybody that tells you otherwise is full of shit. Anyone that tells you for their own personal reasons why it's not used. And I remember a couple of years back, this was one of the issues I had a few years back when I was in the Temple of Set. They claim that that's not utilized, this and that, because they try to cover up their past dirty history with Michael Aquino and the Temple of Set and how during the Satanic Panic and blood sacrifice, you cannot erase that. Because as I said before, when you Google, that's the first thing that's going to come up. So they can pretend like that doesn't exist. They could try to clean it up now in 2024, but you're not doing that, okay? It's there. It's part of your history. I'm not saying I agree with all the shit that was out there, because a lot of it was sensationalized and a lot of it was lies. But to say that it doesn't exist, and I remember that's one of the issues of why I left. They so-called said I made the claim that you have to work with blood. There's no video you can ever find I said that anywhere. And I even asked them to produce it, and they couldn't. But they're a bunch of yuppie cornballs anyway. That's a whole nother story. I did a video on that a few years ago. You can go watch it. All those dudes are corny as hell. And they're a bunch of programmed robots that worship Aquino and the leadership of the temple. That's a whole nother story for a whole nother time. I'm not going to waste my time and energy on that. But is the practice utilized? 100%. Do you have to utilize it? Again, I want to stress again, no. That's entirely up to you. Remember, this is a path of self-mastery. This is a path of personal liberation. You make those choices and decisions. You lay out the spiritual path that works for you. So for an example, if working with blood is not in that equation, then that's fine. That's for you. But when you look at vampiric practices, blood is utilized, okay? Anybody that's a vampire magician to say that that doesn't exist is full of shit. If you work with a lot of practices in necromancy, sorcery, and dark witchcraft, it's used. If you're working with a lot of work with dealing with in regards to that with spirits of the dead, that is utilized because, again, it is the most powerful igniter that connects the physical realm to the spirit realm. Just like water is right in line with that. It is a great conductor and is the most utilized offering because water represents all aspects of life and it connects you to different life forms. So this is why fresh water and sometimes sea salt is added to water because sea is salt or sea salt is a very elemental connection to nature, to creation, to the micro and the macrocosm. All of this is connected. Understanding the spiritual aspect of these things is just as important when you're laying out and designing your ritual work. And as I've said before, just so we're clear on why somebody, and I want to make this clear, and everybody works with it in a different way, might have their own method that works for them. I would encourage and be clear, be safe. I always encourage people, even students I work with in the mentorship programs, this, that, and the other. I always encourage people, if you're going to work with blood, be safe in utilizing that practice. So let me run through that in depth and detail, just so we're clear on this. Okay? Be careful because a lot of the ritual blades you buy online from occult stores, they're not sharpened or they're not really supposed to be utilized to draw blood. All right? I got to go over this. I know this might seem basic 101, but if you see, a lot of these blades are dull. Okay? So there's two things that I recommend when you're safely drawing blood, say to anoint sigils and things for ritual work, okay? Very simple. If your ritual blade is not designed for that and you haven't sharpened it, and I'm talking about sharpened to the point where you can just prick yourself and draw a safe amount of blood, I don't recommend you use a ritual blade if it's not designed and sharpened for that type of work to utilize it safely without you harming yourself. That's number one. Number two, I always recommend a lancet, right? A lancet, right? If you don't know what a lancet is, you should. It's what diabetics or people that need to test their blood will utilize to prick themselves, right? They can be bought online. They can be bought in pharmacies. I bought a whole box of them like 2-3 years ago, and I'm still on them because you can buy a ton of them for a very cheap price. You have the lancet, you load it, and it pricks and it draws plenty amount of blood that you need. When you do it right. A very simple practice. There's instructional videos on how to use it. If you don't know how to use it, I utilize that because it draws the safe. It's safe practice and it draws the right amount of blood that I need for certain rituals. Okay, and they can be utilized a few times before you have to change them. So I'm trying to show you safe practices, right? Blood is used to activate and make your ritual work more powerful if you make the choice and the decision to do that. I just want to make that clear. And that's why I said it in the beginning of the video, and I'm going to say it multiple times throughout the video so nobody can twist my words, okay? As I said before, there's nowhere in any video you will find, in any class that I've done, you will ever find me saying, word verbatim, it is mandatory that you work with blood. That is not, never said that, okay? And a lot of people will email me over the years. There's some people who say, I don't like working with blood. I'm not comfortable with it, this, that, and the other. Okay, then that's fine. Doesn't mean you still can't do ritual work. Your ritual work can still be as powerful if you fuel your intent correctly. So again, it's a personal choice. Myself and many others, we have made that personal choice to utilize it. I utilize it, again, in those safe methods that I just explained. Right? Now, again, when you go in, there's many practices on this path, as I mentioned a minute or two ago, vampire magic in different systems, it's utilized, right? Understanding the spiritual aspect of feeding in vampire magic and the physical aspect, they're two different things, right? So it's look, a lot of stuff in general in life and not just on this path, it's amazing. It's about utilizing common sense and reasoning. And the fucked up part about it, as I said before, some people just don't have that. And it's sad. And as I've said many times over the years, you cannot teach common sense. Okay? I don't care what anybody says. You can't teach it. You either have common sense or you don't. That's it. So sometimes a lot of answers to these questions are based on just using your head, reasoning things out, and applying common sense. Nothing is mandatory on this path. As I said before, there's no 100% correct and right way of doing things, regardless what anybody says. That's why you got to be careful when you're part of groups and organizations, right, that claim, oh, you know, this is a path, the left-hand path is a nonconformist path, the path of liberation and freedom. But then when you start exercising your own practices, then all of a sudden the religious bullshit comes into play. Then they got rules and regulations. And that's why a lot of groups and Mickey Mouse clubs and organizations don't work for us practitioners, right? Because I'm not the type of individual, and I know a lot of you are watching this video, I'm not the type of individual to tell what I can do and what I can't do. I'm the wrong motherfucker for that. Because when you do that to me, it's gonna motivate me to want to do completely the opposite of what you're telling me to do, because I know there's a reason why you're telling me that, right? So I ain't the person to tell you can do this and you can't do that. You're allowed to do this. To fuck with all that. I gave that shit up years ago. Baniti's going to do what Baniti wants to do when it comes to his spirituality. Baniti doesn't give a fuck if anybody likes it or not. That's irrelevant. That's personal. It's my own choice, just like I don't care what anybody else does. It's none of my business. I don't judge anybody for what they do or what they don't do. That's entirely up to them. That's their choice. But just because my choice or somebody else's choice may not be in alignment with each other, that doesn't make it right or wrong. That doesn't give an individual the right to like it, hate it, and be judgmental of it. It just means it's not for you, so just keep it moving. That's it. It's that simple. It's that simple. It's not that complex. It's real easy. This is why I say a lot of these answers to these questions are basic common sense and reasoning, right? We don't know how to reason things out when we're trying to solve issues or get answers to questions. And that's part of the critical thinking process of being an occult left-hand path practitioner. We're critical thinkers. And in that critical thinking, we use a lot of reasoning, common sense, facts, data. All of that are the elements that we use to get answers to questions and solve problems. One other thing I want to add, menstrual blood for females, a very powerful blood work when working blood magic. Females, when they're working with certain spirits or demons like Lilith, a lot of females, that's one of the most powerful offerings you can give that contain not only your life essence, but your sexual energy. Sexual fluids are used. I'll talk about that in another video because we're not really talking about that. We're talking about blood. So for the female, I want to point out menstrual blood is even more powerful than just drawing your regular blood because it contains the elements of your cycle of life. And menstrual blood's been used in many ritual practices for many years. And people to act like this does not exist because people don't like to talk about it, almost to people who fear it and it's unknown. It's like taboo because we've lived in a society and a system where we've been so programmed and indoctrinated not to talk about this shit. Right? Because it incites fear. And fear is fueled by ignorance. When somebody doesn't know something, they fear it, and then it incites a certain level of ignorance in them. That's all it is. So I want to put that part in there. Again, there's more to this, but remember, these are quick tutorials. These are done for a specific reason, just to give you the gist. But I wanted to throw that aspect in. A female using her menstrual blood to anoint sigils, to work with deities and goddesses like Hecate, Lilith, you name it. Any Sekhmet, any of the Kali, any of these entities or demonic spirits or gods or goddesses or archetypes is a very powerful offering. And when working with the divine demonic feminine, man, that is like, forget it. I remember clip-off work with menstrual blood and sexual fluids. I'll talk about that in another video. So yes, this stuff is real. It does exist, but I always encourage using it very safely. Just like anything else on this path, educate yourself. Know what you are doing. Be knowledgeable about what you are doing, right? And don't be fueled by fear and other people's opinions because they got an agenda and they're promoting something they're claiming that they don't like to do or should not do because it might be in line with some agenda they may have. Okay, that's it. It's that simple. We just need to keep it simple, okay? Other than that, I think that covers the foundation and the gist. So yes, the answer to the question is yes, it is utilized on this path to those who choose to utilize it. Again, if you don't, that's fine too. It doesn't change your journey, your path, and your eventual goal, which is to master yourself. Okay? That's it. See how easy that was? See how simple that was? See how you ain't got to get into all this complex stupidity and people. See, when people remove their personal likes and dislikes and opinions and you just deal with it for what it is, that's how you reason things out. That's simple. All right? Other than that, that's going to wrap this video up. Again, if you need to reach out to me for a yearly forecast reading or any other type of reading, shoot me an email at khnum19@gmail.com. So again, my contact email address to book readings or consultations, the direct link to the podcast, the social media pages, Primordial Chaos 9 on Instagram, Primordial Chaos 2 words on Facebook, where I upload all this new content, the direct link to the Primordial Chaos Patreon page to sign up for classes. All of that information, links, and contact info is in the description box of this video that you are watching right now. And that's how you get at me. All right. Other than that, I want to welcome everybody again into 2024, according to the Gregorian calendar. Happy new cycle or new year. We're fully back at work. Let's get to it. It's time to kick it up a notch as we got an important year in front of us. All right. Infernal blessings, and we will talk soon.